Oh. Sorry about that. Hi everybody, I'm Skip Alzheimer, and welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we watch old 16mm films and comment on them. I'm back in the archive after mostly a week at the beach with my family, and I hope you got an opportunity to tune in to some of that. You get to meet my family, and you get to see me eat lasagna and some film leader. That's all last week. So today is Memorial Day. My feeling, I'm going to soapbox a little bit, is honor those that died fighting fascism abroad by fighting it in our homeland. So this next film is a film that was made during World War II, towards the end, and it was meant to convince people to continue supporting the war bonds, but it talks about sacrifice. It talks about sacrifice of those in the military that were fighting the war, but also sacrifice of that we can make. That the comfort that we have is at the cost, oftentimes, of those that fought for that. So this is It Can't Last.
Mother, have you taken a look at the morning? Morning, Freddie.
Morning, Mr. Squires. Hey, 2 grouse! Right up in the churchyard. Flushed them with my bike. Gee, they were pretty.
Grouse, eh? Season opens tomorrow. Always used to say the air smelled different on the opening day. Maybe the first frost at night, or dead leaves, or someone burning brush off somewhere.
Can I have an apple?
Sure thing. Say, let's see the paper, Freddie. Toss her up here. Listen to this, Mother. Another 25,000 prisoners. Fella said the war would be over this fall. Looks like he's right. Doesn't look like it could last that much longer.
Hey! Then maybe Quince will be home for Christmas, huh?
Quince? Well, maybe not that soon. Say, have you heard from that brother of yours lately?
Not for a couple of weeks. Mother's kind of worried.
You tell your mother not to worry about Quincy Martin. He can take care of himself.
Yeah. Well, gotta get going. So long, Mr. Squires.
So long, Freddie. News like this, and a morning like this. Hard to keep your mind on the war. Makes you think of things like a new car. Plenty of gas in the tank, and tires with road treads on them. Maybe a bag of charcoal under the seat, and a steak in oiled paper. Roof! Roof, you old rascal! Make your mouth water, old boy. Well, it won't be long, Roof. Can't last much longer. The war can't. She's almost done. Any way you look at it, it's almost over. coffee roof. Let's go get it.
Good morning, Master.
Good morning, Ed.
How'd you figure that one, Pete, with a slide rule?
You tunnel gunners live too much alone. You lose touch with time.
Radio man to pilot. Sir, request correct time for the lad in the greenhouse. Over.
Local. Correct time. Stand by. 21:39. Mark.
Uh-oh.
For the information of the unseen audience in the turret gunner's seat, 21:39 makes 9:39.
On that dollar chronometer you count the years by.
The hell it does. 21:39 makes 7:39 in the morning, my time. Looks like morning, doesn't it? Well, it looks like morning in Connecticut. 9-something at night out here makes 7-something a.m. in God's country. God's half of it. East half of it.
Figure it out for yourself. I have, often.
Smell the morning coffee right this minute clear from Cape Ann to Buffalo.
Hello, Red Leader. This is Scarlet Base. Report weather. Over.
Scarlet Base, this is Red Leader. Top, 22. Bottom, 6. Cloud cover, 7. Over.
Red Leader, Scarlet Base. Look around under mattress. Over.
Local, out.
Yep, makes 7:39 a.m. and October.
What's saying to you? It's October here, too, isn't it?
It's the same month they give you 12 times a year, only warmed over and warmer. Connecticut, it's hoarfrost on the grass and grouse in the pine lots. Ever see the Litchfield County hills at 7:30 in October?
No, and if you ever expect to see him again, you'd better...
Geez, look at them. 5, 6, 7. Scarlet Base, this is Red Leader. Tally ho, skunks. Heavy cruiser. 3 destroyers. 7 transports. Course 273. Request permission to attack. Over.
There goes old Blood and Guts Lacey again.
Red Leader, Scarlet Base. Permission granted. Out.
Kind of a lonely spot when they light it up, isn't it? How do you feel, kid? Swell. Only here. Skipper never came up, did he? Didn't even try to get out. You're the guy who called it October. Okay. But I don't tell time by clocks in Connecticut. I know. Crazy. But it kind of brings it nearer. Sure it does, kid. Makes you think of the clouds they used to use in that big link trainer. Before they busted us out as student pilots. When they still thought they could teach us navigation. Back at school. Remember that tame Pacific on the screen? And the clouds they used to squirt across it to fool you? How real they looked. Realer than these things. Only then, if you lost yourself in the fog, you could talk to the wave on the other end of the wire. Tell her to turn the lights on. And she did. And there you were. Sort of silly, but back home. Remember that wave? She had black curling hair and the nape of her neck you could almost feel in your hands when you looked at her. It's a long way back to that loft, if you think of it. 2 years and how many missions? 40? 50? Funny to think of the world going on somewhere else, without you and not bothering. First time I ever felt like that was at Coral Sea. Remember? Yeah, I remember. Where we lost. Skipper calling the flat top and no answer. I guess we all knew why, but it didn't help much. And the light about gone, the gas about gone. And the skipper cool as a cucumber.
Hello, Red 3. This is Purple Base. Vector 220. Distance 38.
Then I heard that voice all of a sudden.
Distance
Stranger's
38.
voice, calling us into a strange ship.
Dog.
That's when I learned about Navy sailor. Right then when we hit that deck. But, geez, before they hurt us. Take it easy, please. What we need, Pete, is a wave at the other end of the phone. Turn that sky off. Boy, you and I are alone. I'm telling you. Never were two guys so much alone.
What do you mean alone? Haven't we got the squadron?
Sure, but where are they? 300 miles south-southeast. They got home.
And haven't we got the flat top back of the squadron?
You're a good guy, Pete. I can't last, and you know it. Can't last much longer, and you know it.
And back at the flat top of the fleet, do you think they'll forget us?
Back of the fleet?
Sure, Quince. Back of the fleet, the whole damn country. Every man and woman in it. Every kid in those pine lots in Connecticut. Whatever time it is in the afternoon, whatever they're doing, and wherever they're going, there isn't one that wouldn't be with us. They're all part of the same thing, Quince. The same thing we are. The same war. Hold hard, Quince. Hold tight. They're all part of us. They're around us. They're all around us. They're here.
Weather like this, Mother? Couldn't get it out of my head all day. An open car, a tank full of gas, and a gun in the boot.
Good evening, Mr. Squires.
Evening, Freddie.
Here's your paper. Night.
Good night, Freddie. A man can't think about war in this kind of weather. The war almost finished at that. It can't last much longer, Mother. It can't last.
You're right, Mr. Squires. The war can't last much longer. Part of it can't last much longer. Not the way it's going. Not if we keep it going the way it's going. But that doesn't mean, Mr. Squires, and you would be one of the first to say so if you thought about it, you and thousands of others like you. That doesn't mean that the war is any easier to fight. It's as tough to dive in the last flak, to land on the last beach, to slug it out in the last engagement as the first. If anything, it's tougher, Mr. Squires. The hardest blow to hit in a fight is the last one, because it is the last. It takes everything a people has to hit the last blow in a war and make it last. All the heart and all the will and all the purpose. Your heart, your will, your purpose. You can't forget the war because it's almost over, Mr. Squires. It's because it's almost over that you must think about it. Think about it as you've never thought before. And work for it harder. And give to it harder. It's as hard, Mr. Squires, to fight in the last battle of a war as in the first. It's as hard, forgive me, to die at the end of the war as its beginning. Maybe it's even harder.
All right, so this was a plea for continuing to support war bonds and to realize that the war wasn't over yet. And so there's still people fighting and losing their lives. So, today's Memorial Day, and those that have lost their lives, we honor them. But I'll just say a little bit, like, there's those that didn't, like, die, but certainly have lost their lives, and we can still support them, and should. Both my father and stepfather served in Vietnam, and both of them are suffering from their experience there, with PTSD, hearing loss, and some other things going on. So keep supporting those veterans who lost something during their wars. All right, I'll get off my soapbox and let's deal with some customers. Thanks to Cornet.
There are people who deal in products. There are people who deal in services. And there are the customers who buy products and services. Barb works at a kennel. She provides a service taking care of dogs. John deals with a product, motorcycles. Chris's job is at a TV studio, and it varies. Sometimes the focus is on service, and sometimes on product. 3 jobs. 3 very different jobs, but 3 jobs that have one thing in common.
You know, I used to think that with a job like this, I don't deal with customers, I don't sell anything. But then I realized that I do. I guess when you think about it, almost everybody deals with customers and sells something.
I work with customers all the time. Some know what they want and some don't.
You know, my job varies. But a large part of it is dealing with the customer. We have advertisers in all the time. Salesmen, actors, musicians.
Customers. All 3 jobs depend on customers, people who buy the products or services. Customers vary. Products and services vary. There are all kinds of situations and conditions a salesperson has to deal with.
One thing I've learned, though, is that it really helps to know your product when you're dealing with a customer. With bikes, there are all kinds. They're built for different uses. I have to know that, their capabilities and limitations. How else can I help my customers?
Know your product. That's basic. It might mean knowing what's happening to hemlines. It might mean knowing older works by best-selling authors. It might mean knowing which new releases have just come in. It might even mean understanding the psychology of dogs, their different moods and characteristics. Even if you don't sell dogs, but just help take care of them. It might mean knowing proper ways of grooming them and training them and even talking to them.
Well, I feel that knowing things like that helps me to get along with the dogs and care for them better.
Chris doesn't have to sell her product, but she has to understand it well enough to do certain jobs or explain things sometimes.
I'm going to check on the phone.
Okay, Bob. So that's basically how this station is organized. First, we'll take a look at the TV studio, and then we'll see the radio area. Okay? Everybody ready? We'll start out in Studio A.
You can still know your product when you sell a service.
Like here at the kennel, we sell a service, care for the dogs. My job is to care for the dogs and to work with them the best way I know how. And that's really what the customers are concerned about. I figure the more I know about dogs, the more it helps me to deal with the customers.
Your customer depends on your knowledge of what you sell.
But I think what's more important for me is finding out what the customer needs or what he wants. I have to learn about the guy. Shall I wrap it up for you?
Oh, yeah. I can't decide.
Know your customer's needs and wants. That's basic, too. It might mean showing a customer shoes that are more practical than stylish. It might mean giving a customer guidance when he doesn't have the technical vocabulary to tell you exactly what he wants. It might even mean disagreeing tactfully with a customer when you're sure he's made some mistake. It may take some talking to find out what you need to know about your customer, but mainly, it takes listening. Customers will fill you in if you give them a chance.
Okay, he's buying a bike. Well, how much experience does he have? I mean, if a guy walks in and he's just a beginner, well, you don't try to sell him the biggest bike going. You might sell him this. It's easier to learn on and much easier to handle. And what's he want to use it for? Hill climbing or running around town? Because that makes a difference in what I'll recommend for him. What kind of features does he want? Well, sometimes a guy doesn't know exactly. So you have to really listen to him and then suggest the features that you think he might need. I've got to know all those things before I can help the guy find the right bike for him.
Yeah, you have to know the needs of your customers. You also have to be aware of the way different people think, so that you know how to handle angry customers, customers with a lot of complaints.
Look, he's only 17, a minor, and the second day he brings that thing back, he dents it. He didn't even tell us about it. I won't accept it, and that's that.
Well, ma'am, he did sign a contract.
I know, but he's a minor, only 17. I won't accept that. I have my rights.
Well, I'm sure we can work this out, ma'am. Would you like to talk to the manager? He's right over there. I'm sure he can help you much better than I can.
Yes, right now.
Well, that's part of dealing with customers, too. The most important thing, though, is knowing your products, knowing your customers' needs, and fitting them together.
What I'm looking for Tor is special care, something distinctive, something rather comfortable and roomy. Oh, and with an outdoor run. The fee is no consideration.
Sure, I think we've got just the thing for Tor.
Good.
Dealing with customers means more than just selling. That's particularly true in Chris's work.
Another thing about my job, I'm the first person the customer sees and the first impression he gets of the company. So a pleasant personality is important. And so is the way I dress.
The customer sees the business through you. Your voice might be the customer's only contact. Whether it's pleasant or not might determine whether the customer ever wants to shop at your store again. Your patience when a customer takes a long time making a decision or even decides not to buy may bring that same customer back in the future. Your friendliness may be the main reason why customers visit your place when there are others just about as good nearby. Your willingness to listen, your helpfulness, your courtesy all affect your customer's attitude toward you and the place where you work. You can offer customers consideration and tact, helpfulness without trying to impose your own tastes, because your object is to help sell what your business sells.
Well, I guess when you get right down to it, the key to dealing with your customers is knowing your product. For me, that's knowing my dogs. I put that together with understanding the customer's needs, and there you have it.
Come on. Come on. Let's go. Okay. Good to see you.
Come here, boy. Come on. Hey, there you go. Hello, boy. Come on, Major. Oh, you good dog.
Businesses depend on customers, and how you deal with them will affect the success of the business, and your success too.
Tor. Come here, Tor. Oh, that's so thin.
Exciting. The dog handler shows up in one of my favorite venereal disease films, The Lunatic, which was made by Centron. Has a great song, one of the great VD songs made by Centron, made popular by Centron. And so, yeah, she plays the young girl stricken with VD, and she's trying to convince her contact to go in and get treated, but he is unwilling to do it because he's a lunatic. Yeah, so it's great. I think she's in some other educational films too, but I don't know her name, the actress's name, unfortunately. All right, so behind me, if I do that, yes, I did it. Is the telecine, is the scanner actually, made by Blackmagic, and I have a film set up on it, and I don't have the title right. The title is, what is the title? Is Human Use of Space Technology. Human Use of Space Technology. All right, here we go. Enjoy.
We developed the technology to explore space. It in fact has begun the most surprising exploration of our own planet Earth, and it is profoundly changing the way we live on it.
You can actually get an Associate of Arts degree by watching television programs.
Satellite imagery can give you some warning on this, the famine in Africa. And particularly
now with advanced miniaturization technology, we're able to implant much smaller pacemakers.
Scientists designed vehicles to explore the universe. Almost no one guessed what this would do to life here on Earth. Our story begins with the fact that in order for man to explore space, a few very basic problems had to be overcome. First, a vehicle had to be created that could get into space and stay there. astronauts had to survive and their daily needs be supplied in a new world of zero gravity. They had to be able to work, to communicate back and forth to Earth, and all of this within a miniaturized world floating in the sky. In order to accomplish this, the decision was made to spend billions of dollars in both the United States and the Soviet Union. By the time they had finished, they had created a space program, all right, but they had also created a technological revolution on Earth. It was one that spawned industrial giants, changed the everyday products of life, and created ways to communicate around the globe never imagined.
This is President Eisenhower speaking. It is a great personal satisfaction to participate in this first experiment in communications involving the use of the satellite balloon known as ECHO.
As ECHO beamed its little satellite message across the world, it's safe to say that neither Eisenhower nor anybody else for that matter, with the exception of a few futurists, understood that we were about to become a world of satellites. And even the futurists probably only had the dimmest knowledge of what that would mean. Because, in fact, the ability to beam picture and sound from a satellite in the sky down to a dish on the Earth was about to revolutionize the way we live in a profound way. Take Shishmaref, for example. Below this plane live approximately 400 people in a community that has existed in near total isolation from the rest of civilization for centuries. This is the village of Shishmaref by the Arctic Circle, not too far away from the Soviet Union, right off the tip of Alaska. And this dog sled is how they used to get information and messages back and forth, which meant that not much did. Even with the advent of airplanes and cars, it didn't help too much because it was so remote. It actually wasn't until the space age came in that Shishmaref was transformed. Space technology probably did as much to connect Shishmaref to the rest of the world as it did to send man to the moon.
Well, they're going back in time.
One of the first things to happen to them was TV via satellite.
This is the machine.
Many of these Eskimo children still haven't been out of Shishmaref themselves, but they explained that they had already seen the world in ways their parents never dreamed of via TV.
I know what it is. But I've never...
Their parents at best would have had one, maybe two teachers to live in Shishmaref and give them their entire education. Today, a multitude of teachers and courses comes across to them on TV. Let me ask you, do you think you learn a lot more having these programs come in on television than your parents did before they had this?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah.
To learn about the rest of the world and these things?
Yeah.
Their parents harvested sea mammals and reindeer herds. These children can now receive an entire college education via the satellite TV and the satellite telephone.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Charlie in Dillingham calling for the conference this afternoon.
Hi, it's possible now with the technology that we have and some of the programs that are working between the community colleges and the university system that you can actually get an Associate of Arts degree by never attending a classroom, by watching television programs that you take for credit.
Education and communication are done by Alaskam satellite in Shishmaref. Even medicine here is done by satellite.
And take your coat off.
The lone nurse responsible for this entire community is connected via a hotline to a team of doctors who are able to give her expert advice on a complicated case or rush in a plane for a patient in a genuine emergency situation in a community that still makes OBGYN calls on a dog sled. Shishmaref is not alone. Satellites have become so ubiquitous over the years that they have become not only the new dog sled on the ground, but the Earth's new workhorse in the sky. The Soviets say that they have done as much to help the Soviet Union as the Eskimos in Shishmaref.
Even very small and modest facilities which we have now in space already have changed our way of life. We have space-based telecommunication, which made our own planet as very home-like now. Everyone could get a telephone call from another continent over the ocean instantly for a cheaper price. Television, any kind of service.
They've taken over so many jobs that filling the sky today is such a startling array of satellites that some worry that we are about to have the first traffic jam in space. A lot of this traffic is from satellites beaming TV all over the Earth, because without question, satellites are totally transforming the world of television. A few years ago, having the Ayatollah Khomeini broadcast live into your living room via satellite as he's about to take over Iran would have been impossible. Today, it's business as usual. Seeing the Olympics live in your tent in Saudi Arabia in the past would have been unthinkable. Today, it goes on every time the Olympics go on. This is the Great Wall of China. It is said to be the only man-made object... In short, I can talk to you instantly from the Great Wall in China, from the Soviet Union, or from the Straits of Hormuz. Oil and plenty of it. The ability to beam and receive TV pictures instantly around the world has totally changed what people can see, hear, and know about the world. The impact of this politically and economically is so great that most experts feel that short of the invention of the television itself, this has been the most important revolution in communication. A revolution in both the content and the structure of a powerful industry.
Houston now controlling. Mission control confirms roll maneuver started. Thrust looks good. Roll maneuver completed. 1 nautical mile in altitude. Throttling engines down to 65% now. Spot board status looks good. Mission control.
Thank you.
Puccino la linea.
Okay, Puccino, Tango here. Yes, I'm sending you a television program. Big football match from Brazil. Please check my video and audio.
We see you, Tango. Levels are excellent.
Okay, Puccino, thank you. Arrivederci.
Allô Gandoul, ici la télévision sénégalaise.
C'est en provenance de Paris, FR3.
On vous reçoit très bien.
Auguste Tain, que le président de la République a décoré tout à l'heure.
Some of the most significant changes were felt here. This is ABC, and in the past it wielded an impressive amount of power over what people saw on television. It was one of the 4 major networks that existed in the United States, and the handful of people running them decided what you would see on television. If they chose to spend the money to bring back film from a foreign war and put it on television, you saw it. If they didn't, you didn't. Today, that's all changed. Satellites today have made broadcasting so instant and so cheap that over 100 different channels have sprung up in the United States alone. News is coming instantly from everywhere. In other words, satellites changed the power within a major industry in the United States and the news you see. The change in communications has gone far beyond formal television broadcasts. We, in fact, have become a world of omnipresent information in which distances no longer mean much of anything. Almost anybody can see anybody. For that matter, almost anybody can talk to anybody via satellite, anywhere, instantly.
Greetings from Washington. Chancellor Cole is with us all the way from Athens, Greece. Along with you astronauts hovering in space with me here in Washington and the whole world listening, this is one heck of a conference call.
The new world of conference calls and satellite phones is creating a new world of business possibilities. You can now instantly phone your local stockbroker in Kuwait to trade some oil futures while you sit in London. Not only can you use the equipment to find better deals faster, you can even use it to find people. Have the satellites made much of a difference with the search and rescue problem out here in Alaska?
Satellites have been a great innovation as far as rescue is being concerned. In fact, before the American satellite was launched, the Russian satellite has been responsible for a total of almost 500 rescues throughout the whole of the United States. In Alaska itself, it's been responsible for about 20 to 30. But now that we have our own American satellite up there, that's helping out as well.
Yeah, March 2nd, about 1700 hours, we had a NOAA helicopter was going to Nome to Fairbanks. Had some bad weather and encountered some turbulence, and he landed on the ice offshore from Moses Point, wasn't sure where he was, and he took off and hit some turbulence and crashed. SARSAT satellite that picks up ELT signals had picked up these different various hits, and then we plotted them here on the board, and the aircraft in the area searching were picking up the ELT in this area. Finally, they went over and tried in this cluster, and they found the helicopter offshore about 11 miles from Moses Point. And the Civil Air Patrol plane found some hard ice, landed nearby, picked up 2 survivors who had spent the night, and brought them back to Nome. The next day, they went out with another helicopter to try to recover the fuselage. And the helicopter and the ice had drifted, and the helicopter had sunk. So these 2 men from Miami, Florida were extremely lucky that the Civil Air Patrol found them when they did, because the next day their wreckage had sunk.
The ubiquitous satellite, however, is only one part of the space-age transformation of Earth. The second part of the story is computerization. As the space race escalated, billions of dollars were poured into designing ever more advanced computerization for the spacecraft. The White House funded millions of dollars worth of R&D in the computer world. In addition, the Department of Defense poured millions in for its own R&D needs.
A lot of money goes into expensive technology.
The result is a technological revolution in computerization that is only beginning, say the experts.
So that because of the orbit calculations which went on here at the Smithsonian Observatory, it was necessary to have what was then the most advanced kind of computer that the scientists could get, which happened to be an IBM 704. It filled an entire room because of all the vacuum tubes in it, and it had such a small memory. Nowadays, if you have a personal computer sitting on your desk, you have far more memory and far more speed than that entire room had. This will soon have further ramifications. You'll be able to do your banking from home, order your theater tickets from home, check up to make sure you've locked the front door when you're away.
IBM, of the old vacuum tube calculator, began to get massive contracts from President Kennedy to develop computerization to make the space program work. He wanted something to guide the 2-man Gemini capsule, guidance for the Saturn launches, to track the Mercury vehicles and astronauts, to compute theoretical space exploration, to operate computers on the orbiting astronomical observatories, and to land men on the moon, to also computer-enhanced photos of Mars. By the time it was all done, IBM and others in the computer world had created electronic computers that could execute instructions in a billionth of a second. They had perfected data processing that worked 400 times faster than it did in the mid-50s at 1/200th of the cost. As one expert put it, President Kennedy probably did as much to create IBM as its own founder did. Together, they created today's new world of high-tech computerization. Silicon Valley and the microchip industry exploded onto the scene with a new world of high-tech, fierce competition, and billions of dollars to be made from products that are filtering down from space technology into the home and the office. It has become a new world of miniaturized personal computers, digitalized alarm clocks. This new world of tiny ticking devices that can calculate, think, and perform, along with the new lightweight materials to encase everything sent into space, has begun to impact almost every walk of life. One of them is medicine.
Well, see, at the time that we were trying to put man into space, there wasn't any way really to do any kind of remote monitoring. I mean, physicians had traditionally been able to sit you on an examination table or here in a chair and take a stethoscope, and my stethoscope tubes are this long, and I put the stethoscope on you. And here I was being asked to stretch a stethoscope really to 100 miles and finally 240,000 miles out to the moon, and then we're talking about stretching it further out to Mars. It called for a whole new way of doing things, and so we started doing that, and as we began to develop that kind of instrumentation, then all of the monitoring techniques that we have today, whether you have a coronary and you end up getting picked up at home in an ambulance and your electrocardiogram can now be sent ahead to the hospital, and they can be talking to the corpsman and the technician in the ambulance and telling them what to do to you, how you should be treated. All of that came from our activity.
A president is shot.
President Reagan is the first president in the history of the United States to have been hit by a bullet and survived. The reason, in large part, is the technology. This is the emergency room where they brought President Reagan when he was shot. Here at George Washington University Hospital, as at every other major big city hospital, space-age technology has completely infiltrated medical technology. While this surgeon used laser beams to treat his patient's problem, the surgeon down the hall was using artificial arteries made from space materials to treat his patient. According to him, these are but a few of the medical techniques developing from space.
This is one of the latest devices from space technology, and it's used as an implantable infusion pump. We can infuse insulin, cancer chemotherapeutic agents, or antibiotics for prolonged intravenous infusion without patients having to have repeated injections or through having to come into the hospital for prolonged periods of time. One of the recent advances from space technology has been the development of digital subtraction arteriography. This uses the same kind of technology that was used to photograph Mars and Saturn, and is called computer enhancement of images. And thus we can see that an arteriogram like this shows this very tight narrowing of one of the blood vessels to the brain, which we'll then need to operate upon. This is one of the older pacemakers. A pacemaker is a device used to control heart rate and rhythm, and in the past it was necessary to implant this under the skin in order to keep some people alive. Now, with advanced miniaturization technology as well as lighter weight materials, we're able to implant much smaller devices, and they last 5 times as long. As you can imagine, this has led to dramatic improvements in the quality of patients' lives.
Look at that, geeking out pretty hard. 1986, Pacific Productions, I don't know who that is. Lucerne, I do have quite a few films distributed by them. And obviously this was a kinescope, so we're going to geek out a little bit more. Basically, a kinescope is something that was edited on video, might have been shot on video. Then they set up a film camera on a high-resolution monitor, which was high-res at the time, with a sound. Sometimes they would have an Auricon to record the sound, sometimes not. And they would record it. And record it in such a way that there wasn't interlacing. And then they would distribute that film. And the reason why they would do that is because videotape players were more scarce. And so if they wanted to distribute to schools, a lot of schools, most schools had 16mm technology, but most of them did not have videotape yet. So that's why that happens and why you saw that. I've seen crazy examples where they shot on film, they transferred it to video, they edit it in video, then they transfer it back to film. And it's kind of this weird photocopied, weird graininess. Anyways, thanks for joining us today. It's very much appreciated, all your comments. And thank you, is it Newly? Who is it? Newly, for buying this coffee. You can buy his coffee by going to ko-fi.com/avgeeks. You can also go to avgeeks.com and see other things that we've digitized and put online. And somebody just questioned, kinescopes meant that TVs had the same frame rate as film? No. Basically, you had an exposure on your film so that you would accommodate the strobe. Because it's video's 2.9, it's 29.79 something 976 something. Anyways, yeah, so you would set the camera would have a certain exposure time so that you would get you wouldn't get that strobe. Anyways, thanks for joining us. If you like what you saw, you can hit the thumbs up buttons. Even if you've done it in the past, do it again. How about that? And you can subscribe and share. And we'll be back again tomorrow. So many more films to watch. So many more films to share. And I'm happy that you guys are there to share them. Everybody rest today. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care.